So, on this Good Shepherd Sunday, I want to talk about voices, shepherds, and the one shepherd. So, first, voices. You know, all of us have different voices that play inside of our heads at different times. We have the voice of self-doubt, we have the voice of confidence, we have all these different voices from time to time that will come and go from us. Some of them come from inside us. They come from our own desires, our own thoughts, our own attachments. But there's also times where voices come from the outside. And I don't mean in a crazy sense. I just mean different competing voices. And you know, you probably notice most athletes today at the collegiate or at the professional level, they always have those big headphones on, right? Right before the game, they've got their headphones going. It's because they're trying to drown out all of the competing voices. They want to just listen to one voice so that they can be ready to compete in the game. Well, I want to talk about two competing voices that probably are always at work on us. One of them is the voice of the world or the voice of the enemy. And the easiest way to identify it is it sounds like this: pride, riches, honors. So the voice of the world is always trying to convince us that our happiness lies in one or all of those things. That if we just had enough pride, if we just really believed in ourselves enough, we would be completely happy. Or if I just had enough wealth or material possessions, I could be completely happy. Or if the world loved me, if everybody thought highly of me and everybody praised me all the time, I could be completely happy. And of course, those are not the voice of God. Those are the voices that try to lead us to believe that our ultimate happiness lies in material things. And it always fails. There's another voice, and it's a voice that sounds like this: humility, poverty, contempt of worldly honors. Now you're going to say, yeah, I'm not sure I like that voice. Okay, fair. Because at first glance, we go, yeah, I could probably do the humility thing. I could work on that. Poverty, no, that's not fun at all. Contempt of worldly honors, it feels good to be praised. It feels good when other people say nice things about us. But the ultimate reality is that those are the things that help us remember that our ultimate happiness doesn't lie in material things. Our ultimate happiness lies in a relationship with a person. And I want to give you two examples of what that looks like. Because shepherds, and we all have shepherds, have the ability to lead us to the ultimate shepherd. And so just recently, on Easter Sunday, April 20th, Pope Francis, who had been sick and in the hospital for so many weeks, finally was back home. And he came to the window over St. Peter's Square on Easter Sunday to give a blessing to all the people gathered in the square. And as Pope Francis looked out over the square and gave the blessing from the window, he leaned over to his doctor and he said, "Can I go down there?" And his doctor said, "Yeah, you should do that." So he got in the Pope Mobile, he drove around St. Peter's Square, and he visited and said hello to all the people. He kissed babies, he blessed everyone, and he went back home. And then the next morning, he died. And right before he died, he thanked his physician for letting him go out into the square. That's a shepherd. He knew that he was frail. He knew that his life was coming to an end, but his last wish was to be able to be present to the people that he loves. That's a shepherd. Well, think about another shepherd. So, Cardinal Prevost. So he's doing his job in Rome, he's got his nice little apartment, he's got his favorite Italian restaurant, and then the Pope dies, and he says, okay, we've got some work to do. And so he goes into the conclave, and he's watching as the votes are taken, and he keeps seeing his name show up. And he starts to realize that his life is about to be changed forever. And so as he comes out on that balcony in front of St. Peter's Square, he's starting to realize what this means. And if you saw the pictures of him before he spoke, you could see this flood of emotion coming over his face. Now, if I were in his shoes, I would be thinking, well, I'll never have privacy again. I'll never have freedom again. and every decision I make is going to be questioned 1,000 times. Sounds kind of like a mother, doesn't it? It's appropriate because parenting and shepherding have a lot in common. Someone who makes a good shepherd also makes a good parent, because a shepherd is one who leads, a shepherd is one who feeds, a shepherd is one who sacrifices and gives their all for the sheep that they are leading. And so on this Good Shepherd Sunday, we're invited to look at the many ways that people are called to be shepherds, not just as parents, but also among our friends, among our coworkers, among our neighbors. Shepherding is not something limited to someone with a collar. It's a call that we all have, because all of us are being entrusted with this ministry of Jesus Christ through our baptism. All of us are invited to use our gifts and abilities to lead others to the one good shepherd. You know, in our baldacchino up here, there's phrases in Latin, and one of the phrases on the inside is pastor bonus, good shepherd. So what makes a shepherd good? Ultimately, it is the shepherd who gives their all, the shepherd who gives their very self to us, and that shepherd is Jesus Christ. And that's why when he talks about, my sheep hear my voice, it takes some work. We have to discern between the voice of the world and the voice of the shepherd, the voice that's calling us to the fullness of life. But if we always pursue our own self-interest, if we're always trying to put ourselves first, we're never going to hear the voice of the shepherd. The voice of the shepherd becomes audible to us when we start to embrace things like humility, like poverty of spirit, recognizing that we depend on God for every breath, having contempt for worldly honors and believing that the only honor worth having is the love of God. And so as we look to the Good Shepherd, we look to that example in our lives so that we too can model that image of the Good Shepherd to the world around us, so that we can embrace that identity as children of God, so that we can help the world to see God's care for them through our own shepherding of the people we are entrusted with. And so on this Good Shepherd Sunday, I want to give thanks to all of you for your shepherding, for your abilities that you are using to help shepherd this community of faith and the communities that you are part of wherever you go. Because shepherding is really that missionary effort. It's that effort for us to go out into the world and to make sure that when people see us, that what they see is the person of Jesus Christ.